This week's episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast is proudly brought to you by Lucky Duck. About the only creature they can't deceive is you. Lucky Duck is more than a brand, it's a lifestyle built around the subtle art of critter deception. While you're focused on the business end of your shotgun or rifle, know that they're completely focused on what matters most, you. Whether you're in the duck blind, dove field, predator stand, or chasing turkeys, they're confident that their products will help you succeed. Check out their full line at luckyduck.com and keep up with their latest news by following them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 108. This week on the show, we're talking trip prep. Dan and I go through our thought process and how we're preparing for our hunt out in Kansas. All right, welcome to the 108th episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Palm. And we are your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. You can check us out over at hpoutdoors.com. You can find our stuff across all the great podcast catching databases out there, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all the good ones. If you're new to the show, we love 5-star rating and reviews wherever you listen to our show because it helps us reach other hunters just like you. We encourage you to catch up on all the past episodes. And when you've done that, you can head over to social media, check us out, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can head over to our Facebook listeners group, catch up with a bunch of folks that listen to the show, as well as my co-host, Dan Harushka. Dan, what's up, man?
A group of rhinos is called a crash.
A group of rhinos is called a crash.
Did you know that one?
I did not know that.
Me neither, until just recently.
I don't even want to know how you stumbled upon this tidbit of information, but we are now all the more wiser about a group of rhinos. Thank you for that.
That's what we're about.
Okay. What we are also about is native eyewear. We choose native eyewear for their 99% polarization efficiency, injected lens technology that places the optical center of the lens in line with the natural motion of the eye, ensuring distortion-free vision and reducing eye fatigue. They're lightweight polycrystal carbonate lenses that are also less likely to shatter during impact. Check out nativeeyewear.com to get yours today. Also, one of the newer sponsors of the show that we're about is the Ridge. You've heard me talk about it a little bit, but the Ridge is a minimal front pocket wallet design that lets you ditch that old bulky wallet. The Ridge wallet's slim, it's RFID blocking and has a lifetime guarantee. It's the last wallet you'll ever buy. With two metal plates bound together by a durable elastic band, the Ridge looks nothing like a traditional wallet. Titanium, carbon fiber, and aluminum options ensures there's something for everyone. Dan and I use the carbon fiber and we love it. Use the discount code HP Outdoors at ridgewallet.com to get 10% off and free shipping. 737 duck calls, original design, select grade components, superior sound, and unparalleled service. 737 takes exceptional pride in producing the finest quality, best built premium calls in the market today. They're made in America, offered only direct to consumer through their website, and shipped to the U.S. Shipping in the U.S. is always free, and international orders are also now accepted online. A 20-day money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty accompanies every call purchased. 737 duck calls lead the flock. Gunner Kennel is engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind. The G1 Kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner Kennels in a category all its own. Gunner was started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything that they do. Gunner Kennels are dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market. Man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at gunnerkennels.com. And also, we introduced this last week, but OnX. OnX Hunt allows you to confidently navigate public and private land boundaries across the country. The Hunt app turns your smartphone into a fully functional GPS with more than 450 countrywide maps that give clear private and public land boundaries, trails, hunt-specific data, and more. Listeners to this show can receive a 20% off the Hunt app premium or elite membership by using the code HP Outdoors at onxmaps.com. Also, thank you to Big Al Silhouette Decoys, Camp Chef, and Black Rifle Coffee Company. We say it every week, but please support the companies that support this show. You can do so by heading over to the HP Outdoors website. Check out the discount codes page. You can find out how to get all of the great benefits that companies offer to the listeners of the show. So head over there and find out how you can save money with Dunn Sporting Goods, Black Rifle Coffee Company, White Rock Decoys, 737 Duck Calls, Alpha Dog Nutrition, Gunner Kennels, Ridge Wallet, and Onyx Hunt. Awesome savings available over there, so make sure you check that out. All right, Dan. This week we are going to talk a little bit about our upcoming trip out to Kansas with Ben at Big Kansas Outdoors. And, this topic kind of came up for us this week because somebody had posted in the group about, how do you prepare for your hunt every day, like your weekend hunts or your normal hunts? And, some people said, well, you lay your gear out and you take a look at everything and you kind of figure it out. Some guys said, I throw a bunch of gear in my truck when season opens, and short of just kind of throwing in a few shells when I'm running low, it stays in my truck and I kind of hunt out of my truck for the whole entire season. And it got me kind of thinking, this hunt, as we're recording now, we're like 3 weeks away. And I feel like I need to start getting my stuff together, because, I'm sort of kind of anal with that stuff as it is. And just the fact that, I'm going to be flying somewhere, I really feel like more pressure than normal to like make sure I have all my stuff squared away.
Yeah, I definitely like the locker room approach, or the locker straight truck locker. The locker approach. Just throw it in your truck and go with it. But I can feel your sense of excitement just through the ads that you just went through. You have a little bit of pep in your step. I feel like you're starting to get excited for season since you've been out so long and just been archery hunting when you get a minute. So it's good to hear you with some pep in a step.
Yeah, I think our season comes back here in Virginia in like 2 weeks, and I haven't had a lot of time, but in the spare time that I have been able to get out and do some archery hunting, I just end up complaining about it most of the time because I get bored and I just want to duck hunt or goose hunt, and it's just not doing it for me. And I'm ready to get into it, and I'm excited to get out. And, in addition to just the hunting itself, it's the camaraderie and hanging around camp with the guys and all that kind of stuff that I look forward to as much as anything else. So I'm fired up, and, being that we're going to be out there doing a lot of content for the show and things like that, there's a lot more that I'm taking on this trip than I normally would, for like my hunt in the back 40 here locally,
Right. Yeah, and our archery season tomorrow, this is Friday night that we're doing this episode. Tomorrow, Saturday, is not our last day. Monday's actually our last day, but I'm not taking Monday off to archery hunt. And tomorrow we're supposed to have like 25 mile an hour sustained winds and 40 mile an hour gusts. So I might go through archery and not even sit in the stand all year. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I might sneak around and hunt from the ground. But with all that being said, I want to congratulate Ryan Lilly from Maine, Old Town Canoe. Dude, he dropped a hammer. I think it was a 10-point, and that one of the thickest antlered bucks I've ever seen. So it wasn't real wide, but man, did it have some mass on it. And I think they weighed it in at like 220 pounds after it was field dressed. So, that's a big old buck up there.
Yeah, that thing's mass for days. That's one of those bucks that carries its mass all the way out through the tip of the beams and stuff. Just a big, heavy horned deer. You can't imagine how old that deer is. He's probably pushing 5.5, 6 years old, I'd guess, for a deer like that. But, it's funny that you bring up bucks, because I think I was telling you earlier, I went to pick up some Chinese food tonight here, and, this is typical suburban Virginia. I pull up and the Chinese restaurant is in a little strip mall, and, maybe 100 yards up from it is a Walgreens, and in between there's like a scrubby little drainage area. And as I'm backing out, and I think I was like texting you, I look up and there is just a stud of a buck standing right there beside the restaurant. And he's tending a doe that's just down over the ledge. So he was not going anywhere. And I mean, he was out past his ears, nice and tall, like just a real nice buck. And I'm like, man, growing up in Pennsylvania, like I never saw deer like that. And here I'm like running up here to get some dinner and they're just stumbling around like they got nothing better to do. So it's just crazy. But, I grab my bow and I go sit in the stand. I don't see anything. So that's why it's so frustrating to me, I think. So anyway.
Yeah. The last 2 days when I drive home from work, it's I got 15, 20 minutes late when I get home, but there have been 2 legal bucks out in the field across my house, and just like, man, I should be in a stand, but when it comes down to it, it's been all my free times went to waterfowl, and these trips coming up, I'm not taking time off to archery hunt like I usually do, so that's that, and I don't even really feel bad about it. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at.
I've gotten to be as well. And we were talking too. I got basketball starting tomorrow, coaching my son's basketball team. So essentially, my Saturday is going to be, absorbed by that. And the weather was crappy today, so I didn't get up. So I'm just kind of like, I'm just ready to turn the page on deer, and I'm ready to just forget about it and go all in on ducks and geese, and because that's the thing. Like, I've been doing a lot of archery hunting this year in a park program that's run by the county, and they don't allow you to hunt in the parks on Sunday. And that's when I do the majority of my hunting because my kids got practices and games and we got family stuff going on Saturdays. So like Sunday is a great time for me to get out. And that's one of the things that just, kills me about the talking about, the condensing of the seasons in states that don't allow Sunday hunting. It's like, when are kids supposed to hunt? Right. I mean, like, when are dads supposed to take their kids out to hunt? If you can't do it on Sunday and they want to be active and do other things on Saturday, I mean, I guess, if you really wanted to, you could force them to make time, but it's just that much harder to do, right? So it's like just another thing that's going to make it more difficult, I think, for younger hunters to get involved.
Right. And hopefully Pennsylvania gets on the Sunday hunting, especially with some of the seasons. It might be the perfect storm with the seasons getting cut down and the big push that we've seen lately for Sunday hunting. So maybe it'll all combine and at least get a Sunday hunting combined with these shorter seasons and bag limits. So you never know. Something good might come out of it. But yeah, not being able to hunt Sundays, I feel your pain.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, like here in Virginia, when we got Sunday hunting, you're still not allowed to hunt big game on public land on Sundays. You can hunt private land, but you can hunt waterfowl on Sundays because I don't know if the way the seasons are structured or because it's like a federally formed season or whatever. But yeah, so you can hunt places for waterfowl that you can't hunt big game for on Sundays, which is helpful because that's what I'm trying to do. So
that's weird. I didn't know that about the big game. And it's weird because you think that, the Sunday on public would be more like not shooting and stuff like that. So what would the argument against archery be?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just being out there, I guess. That's weird. I did not know that. Yeah. See, a lot of useless knowledge tonight.
Useless? Useful?
Well, useful. Random. Random.
Right.
Well, the group of rhinos isn't that useful unless you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Might come up.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
That's still going on.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been kind of like brought back, I think, a little bit. Or did it go away ever? I don't know.
I don't know if it did. All right, so what do you want to talk about? Kansas, a little bit of what we're taking, a little bit of logistics.
Yeah, so this is going to be my excitement. This is going to be my first time flying somewhere to hunt.
Okay.
So, I feel like I need to be a little more squared away in my packing because one, I want to make sure I take everything that I need, but two, like I'm checking bags onto planes, which is going to be expensive if you get too carried away with it. So, I thought maybe, we could talk a little bit about what we plan to take and what our approach is. And then, I'd like to talk a little bit about the actual bags that I'm planning to take because, one thing that we've considered is, when we get there, if we got a couple dudes in the car or whatever rental, like what kind of rental do we need? Do we need like a van? do we need a car, SUV? We wanted a truck kind of thing. We ultimately went with the truck. And one of the reasons we were able to do that is kind of has to do with some of the bags that were taken with us and stuff like that. So, kind of thought a lot about that. But, I think to start off, like when I sat down and started making a list of things that I wanted to take with me, it got long really quickly. And I was a little bit surprised by that. So maybe before we get into this hunt, maybe talk a little bit about when you went to Maine and how you approached that, because you knew you were going into some pretty inclement weather, and that was your first time flying with a firearm and things like that. So maybe kind of relive that just a little bit kind of before we get into this.
Right. So going up there, I knew that it was going to be cold. I did not know that we were getting that, the hurricane, the snow hurricane, and all the chilly weather with that. So we could talk about as far as gear later. The actual hunt or the gun and any kind of anxiety that I had with that was actually went over really well. The Pelican case, I know people get weirded out, anxiety about it. I had it taking a gun into an airport and the whole process. So everything I read, a lot of people say to use the TSA locks, but then the more and more I researched into like, I don't want to say like Second Amendment groups or anything like that, but more like gun owner groups, not just rules and regulations type deal. Like they said, I had my case and the TSA opened stuff, took stuff out, and I never saw it again, and no one would fess up to it. So it came down to the point where they said, do not use TSA locks. And that way, any time that case will be open, you'll have to be in the room physically to open the locks and see what they have to do. So I went with just some master locks that fit. Any hole that is on your case needs to be filled with a lock. So that's number one. The Pelican, what is it, 1710 or 1750? I forget what the actual number is, but it has four openings for locks. So you buy a 4 set of locks. I bought master locks from Walmart I think. And I had one key in my carry-on bag, and then I just got some paracord and put the other one around my neck. And super simple. I went in just to the baggage check, and they have you open it up. They look at everything, and then they fill out a piece of paper. You sign it. They put it in there, and then you take it over to TSA, or they will take it. One of the two. Erie's really small, so I just carried it over. And then they like sprayed something around the edge of it to, I don't know what, maybe to see if there are any kind of chemicals on it that they need to be aware of or something. I'm not sure. But they spray it, and then when it's locked, they try to stick their fingers in, like they'll unlatch it and try and like open it. You know what I mean? So with the locks on it, don't get like super long locks, but ones that keep it nice and tight. So no issue with that. And then you have to, whenever you land, you just have to go to the TSA claim, and you go and give them your name and pick up the gun. So the amount of anxiety that I had was not worth it. And even coming back, Portland, Maine was actually where the 9/11 attacks launched from. And I didn't know that until we were on the way back to the airport. And Ryan Dubé told me that. So I had anxiety again, thinking, this is going to be long and drawn out, but it was just as easy in a big airport as it was in Erie. So, I don't know. Do you have any other questions about that? I didn't fly with ammo. We bought ammo when we were there, but I don't think that ammo is allowed to be in the same case as your gun. I believe I should have read that before I went, but I didn't fly with any ammo.
I thought you said you could fly as long as it was like boxed or something.
It has to be. It definitely has. It can't be loose, but I think it has to be checked. But I'm not sure if it's allowed in the same case as your gun.
While we're chatting, I will look that up just so that we make sure we give good information.
Yeah, but the same on this trip. Our ammo is going to be out there already, so we're not flying with ammo, but that would be good to get across.
All right.
But,
so
um,
TSA says ammunition is prohibited in your carry-on baggage and must be transported in checked baggage. Firearm magazines and ammunition clips. I hate that term. I can't believe they actually have that on their freaking website anyway. Whether loaded or empty, must be securely boxed or included within a hard-sided case containing an unloaded firearm.
Oh, okay. So it can't be.
Well, that doesn't say the actual ammo though. It just says the magazine or clip, I guess it says whether empty or loaded.
Yeah.
Small arms ammunition, including ammunition not exceeding .75 caliber and shotgun shells of any gauge may be carried in the same hard side case as the firearm.
There you go.
So you can.
Okay. So it can be.
Yes.
So it can be in the same, the amount of ammo that we're taking to an outfitter, we're expecting to shoot a lot. So having it sent out there and not worrying about that. And especially when it comes to that too, if you're taking a case, then you need to think about like weight and extra baggage fees. So that's good. Ship it out there. We don't have to worry about it. And then, you kind of talked about the truck a little bit, and one of our main concerns was, what if it snows, which it's snowing in Kansas right now, and just weather stuff. So that's another reason that I went with Sitka bags and a Yeti Panga for a carry-on. So, if we do have a full truck and need to put stuff in the back, then it's all protected weather-wise.
Yeah. What are the name of these Sitka bags that we got here?
Oh, geez.
I'll look it up.
You're going to have to look.
I forget the actual, the drifter bags.
The drifter bags.
Yeah. So we got those. And so basically, essentially everything that we take with us is going to be waterproof. So we can just pile it all in the back of the truck and it's not going to be any worse to wear if we need to. And I like that too, because, it's a little more durable when you're traveling. And I always worry about sometimes because those dudes don't take care of your bag. So they throw it on the ground, they throw it wherever. And if you got stuff in there that you can get wet or, it's just, it's nice to have it protected from the elements a little bit. So, I'm looking forward to using those and pretty excited to see how they work. But.
Right. So going up to Maine, like I knew it was going to be cold, freezing cold. So I took all my heavy stuff. Also, we were going out into the ocean, so I needed my waders. So that all my stuff fit into that Sitka, the drifter bag. So that was really nice. And it's not even a big, I think it was a 90. The 90 is what we got.
Yeah.
Is that right? So
yeah.
Plenty of room. That's another benefit to breathable waders. I mean, those things rolled up so tight that I had no issues at all. It was like a pair of shoes in there.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So were you able to get them dried out before you had to fly home, or did you pack them back in there wet?
Well, we really didn't get that wet because we canoed out and then we were on icy rocks. So, I mean, my boots were wet, but the waders were hung up when we got back, and there's no issue there. So, so that was fine.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, going out to Kansas, we don't need waders, so that'll, the boots. I won't need the boots, and that opens up for a little bit of not as freezing cold gear that we need, but I still think it's going to be pretty chilly, so it'll be fairly similar, the setup that I have, and I don't know what Joe's taken, and I have some extra bibs and stuff for him, so I don't know if I'll be taking that or if he'll be lugging that on his luggage, but I'll have his gun again in my case. I got a good setup there, so.
And they don't give you there's no issue. The number of guns in the case doesn't matter, right? Like if it's one guy and you're bringing two guns, they don't worry about that.
No issue. And that was another thing I thought of too, because the one shotgun's not registered in my name. So what if it did come down to like questioning and stuff like that? And Joe was not with me when I flew. He flew out of Philadelphia. I flew out of Erie. So that was another thing on my mind too, but it never came up. It was just two shotguns going, and that was it.
You have to register shotguns?
No, but I mean, if it came down to it, if you buy it, then they know who owns the gun, right?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know how they would source that serial number on that gun to one person if it was not registered like that.
Well, again, just stuff I had anxiety about that probably doesn't matter.
Silly goose. When they're doing the background check, they're checking you. They're not checking the firearm in any way, right? Yeah. If it's a legal dealer or whatever. So, yeah, you should be in the clear there. I was just concerned. I'm not concerned. I was just curious more of anything if people get pushback on having a backup gun. I mean, because I would think that, a lot of guys would want to carry a backup gun with them for, that sake of peace of mind if something goes wrong with your gun, or, for example, you're bringing it for somebody else or something like that, and just never having done it. I don't know. But, I guess to them at the counter, it's all the same. Like if it's a locked up case, you can't get to it. What does it matter if there's one or two guns in there, I guess. So, I'll be interested to see how it goes for me. I'll be flying out of Dulles Airport, and it's a big international airport that's very busy. And the only thing I got going for me is my flight takes off at like 6 a.m. So I'll be in there really early. Hopefully there'll be less people around, but I have no doubt that I'm going to get some looks when I roll through that airport with a gun. No question.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Even in Erie, you have, it's Erie's international too. So there are a lot of people flying to London and, just rolling up and got some, hunting stickers on it and stuff, which I knew would get looks, but it wasn't too bad. It went over pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've started making my list on as far as clothes that I want to take, and what I've found to be kind of like a good way to do it for me is I sort of just mentally go through it as I would put it on, right? So I kind of start with the base layers and sort of work my way out. And I tend to put on like my lower half first and work my way up and that kind of thing. And that just sort of helps me stay organized when I'm putting stuff on paper. And then as I lay it all out, because there's kind of like, there's twofold to it. There's getting everything that you need, and then there's getting it all into the bag in an efficient way that, it all fits nice and all that stuff. So, I'm kind of looking at that, and not having to bring waiters is going to be helpful because, it's just one more thing, right? And I wouldn't want to, obviously if you have to bring waiters, you can't assume that you're going to hunt water every time. So you may have to bring bibs as well. So it's kind of like, just adds to the build out. So not having that is good. And, I'm going with a pretty much complete Sitka setup where I'll be running merinos, next to skin kind of stuff. And then I'll have enough with me to be able to adjust to the cold if I need to, but I'm planning to bring, pretty much like the same kind of stuff I would wear around here. So I'll wear, a merino base with, gradient pant if it's cold enough, with my Hudson bibs on top of that. On top, I'd have like a merino top with a traverse, and then like a Dakota vest, and then a Hudson jacket outer layer. And I can kind of peel some of that off if I need to. I also have a Fahrenheit jacket that I may bring if it's going to be really cold, but normally I only put that on when it's like bitter cold. I don't think we're going to get that bad. I don't like to bring gloves. I'll have a light pair, but I got one of the Sitka muffs this year, so I'm going to have that. So I'm looking forward to using that. And then I'm pretty much kind of like a ball cap kind of guy. I don't typically wear stocking caps or things like that on my head too much, but I'll probably have a Dakota beanie with me in the event that, it gets cold in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, I'll throw a beanie on over a cap, and then definitely neck gaiter if it's super windy. Are you taking a new Hudson? Because you have to remember the extra insulation in arms too. That will be helpful.
Wait, say that again about the new Hudson?
The new Hudson with the insulated arms, where the old Hudson didn't have it.
Yeah. I am bringing the old Hudson because my old Hudson is what I have in
Marsh.
In Marsh. Yeah. So the new Hudson I have is in timber. So I won't be bringing that. What's your layering system going to be there, Guy?
I think, I mean, the bottom will be the same, and then the top's going to be pretty close. A heavyweight merino, traverse, probably I'll have a core heavyweight if needed, Dakota vest, and also the old Hudson. Unless Joe wants to go with Marsh, then I'll take the timber and timber out. But because I like the color, even though we'll be hunting fields mostly. But yeah, I think if we're in blinds, it doesn't really matter.
And it's funny because a lot of my like lounge gear is kind of my extra layers. So like I'll have a heavyweight, a core heavyweight hoodie as well, but I'll probably like wear that out there, like that'll be my jacket to wear out kind of deal.
Right.
So I'm definitely going to have some extra pieces that I'll probably wear more casually than anything, just kind of hanging out. But, one thing I wanted to ask you is what do you do for blind bag? When you do this kind of stuff?
Most of the stuff that I took that would go in my blind bag, like my calls, headlamp, multi-tool knife, I ended up putting in with the guns.
So you did not take a blind bag?
No, I did. I took the Sitka full choke.
Yeah.
And that was my my personal, not my carry-on, but my personal bag, because you get a carry-on and a personal. So my carry-on ended up being the Yeti Panga, and then my personal was the full choke.
Ah. Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about doing that. I was just going to jam it. I was going to like jam it in the bottom of my bag, and because you can't, obviously you're not going to take like your knife and stuff like that on the plane. So you got to check all that anyway.
Right.
So my carry on or personal, one of the two, I'm not really sure how this is all going to work semantically, but one of them is going to be like my camera equipment and my podcasting equipment. So, all of that stuff will be on the plane with me, and I've got about everything to choose from. I got backpacks, I got Pelican cases, I got all this crap. I'll probably just do some sort of backpack setup. I hadn't considered using the full choke, but I might look into that idea now.
Yeah, so now with that insert that you sent me tonight, I'll probably get that for camera gear, and the podcast equipment. The H6 is in a hard case by itself, so that'll slide in either to the Panga or my backpack, and the full choke. And then the headsets will just go in there as well. So that'll be on my person. I won't be too worried about it. Won't get smashed anywhere. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm going with that. And the computer will be in a full choke, so I might have to get some kind of padded piece for that. Even though the full choke does have some padding, but still, when you're talking about a MacBook, you want it to be protected. Yeah,
the more and more I think about this, the less I like the idea of using the full choke as a carry-on bag. I don't know. I like, mine's a mess, right? I mean, it's got like corn stubble all through it and blood on it. And it's just kind of like, I've hunted that thing like 3 or 4 years in the field now, pretty hard. So I think I'm going to probably end up going with a clean bag, and I'll just download that thing and smash it flat in the bottom of the bag and pop it back up when I get out there. But, I'm also debating, I think I'm going to probably end up carrying on my hearing protection, just because I don't want that to get banged up too much and that kind of stuff. And, as weird as it sounds, like I do know people that have had stuff stolen from their bag, their checked baggage, by TSA or by somebody. So anybody that would know what those are, may potentially want them. I don't know why. I mean, they're custom fit for my ears, but who knows? I would rather not risk that. So I'll probably carry those on with me, but I'll check, headlamp, knife, calls. If I bring hand warmers or anything like that, all that stuff will be checked, obviously. But, yeah. Let me ask you this: what are you going to do for socks? Because this is something that I've not been super in touch with over the last couple of years. I just kind of wear like whatever, and I'm just wondering if there's a better way.
I have a pair of Filson merino socks, and I have a couple pairs of Smart Wool, and then a couple pairs of Darn Tough. So I'll bring all those, and we have a washer and dryer and everything at our place. So if we need to get cleaned up and refluffed up, we should be good to go there.
Yeah, and
those Darn Tough have lifetime warranty though. So, and they aren't. I think they have different like heavyweights and stuff, but it seems like the more heavy I go, the more my feet sweat and kind of get cold.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I've been going with the lighter sock, so.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too.
Not like a lightweight, but it's just a normal. I don't go super heavy. Those Filsons are pretty heavy though.
Yeah, I need socks that allow room in the boot for my foot to move. Mm-hmm. And a little air to circulate in there, because I'm like you. If my feet sweat anyway, so if I wear a really heavy sock, I'm just gonna, as soon as I walk out and sit down, they're gonna get cold. So I try to go to like a medium.
That's the thing. That's the thing now too. Instead of the waders, we got to take knee high boots.
That's a good question. I mean, I was planning to bring like a pair of Gore-Tex like leather boots that are warmer. My rubber boots are not heavily insulated. So I wasn't, I think if we're hunting fields, they'll be fine. But if we're hunting anything where we're going to be like in water a good bit, even shallow water, like a couple inches, like I would not want to use those boots.
The rubber boots or the leather boots? The
leather.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to end up shoving my muck boots in or, I don't know, maybe looking into those lacrosse Alpha Burleys. That might be a possibility, but that's going to take up some space too.
Yeah, those are not small.
But a lot of people during setup and stuff, we're hands-on. We like to go set up, help put everything out. So a lot of people will take extra pair of socks. Your feet sweat when you're setting up. When you start to slow down, get in your blind, switch out socks when you're sitting there. So definitely good to have an extra pair on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on team sock change if need be. No question. All right. So we've got now, how does Kansas work as far as licenses? Is that something that we plan to get while we're out there, or is that something that we plan to buy online in advance? Obviously, we will still need our federal duck stamp, which we've got, so can't forget that.
Yep. So I think we're going to buy them when we get out there. We're getting out there early enough. We'll buy them when we're out there. One thing, see, I always thought when you went out of state that you would need your hunter safety course from your home state, which when I was in Maine, all I needed was my driver's license.
Yeah. I think
so
once you
I
get
have
over
my
a
hunter
certain
safety,
age,
and
you don't need that. Like as you get older, you don't need a hunter safety necessarily.
No, I think that's not right. I think if you were born in like the 40s, you don't need one, but anyone forward from that needs one.
I think that's state specific, because I'm pretty sure that's not the case in Virginia. I could be wrong, but I don't believe that's the case.
Oh man,
I need to Google that right now while we're talking.
Yep, Google that up. So I will have my PA license, obviously duck stamp, and my hunter safety card for when we go. Because I know when 2016, I went to Colorado, needed my hunter safety to get a license, and I was already in their system.
Okay, so the interwebs is telling me that anyone born after July 1st, 1957 must be certified by an approved course in hunter education before they can hunt in Kansas, except anyone 15 years old or younger may hunt without hunter's education certification, provided they're under the direct supervision of an adult 18 years or older. Interesting.
There you go.
Let's see.
Yeah. So 57 is the cutoff?
That's for Kansas. Let me see if it's the same in similar states. It's funny because in Virginia, you can take your hunter safety course online now. You don't even have to go.
Yeah, a lot of places do.
Yeah, that's a joke. I don't know. Continue on here as I dig this up. I'm not exactly sure.
One thing that I did not take, big surprise, was a gun cleaning kit up to Maine, which it ended up just being, one day hunt, and you go and stay with a hunter, so you have stuff to wipe your gun down with. I assume going out to a outfitter that they'll have stuff to at least spray down. I don't like taking like aerosol. I don't think you can take aerosol cans, but like, break-free CLP is what I usually use to wipe down the gun. So
yeah,
I'm sure that those guys will have stuff, but that was one thing that crossed my mind.
Yeah, one thing I always hunt with, and I thought about this for this trip too, is taking like a boar snake, because I always worry about getting like a wad stuck in my barrel or dropping my gun in the mud and needing to clear it out in the field so it doesn't ruin your hunt. Like I'm guessing those guys probably have that stuff, but I might throw one in anyway, just because I think it's good to have.
Yep.
Okay, so for Virginia, jumping back to our hunter education requirements, you're required to complete hunter education before buying a license if you're 12 to 15 years of age or you've never previously purchased a regular hunting license. And it says that Virginia accepts and recognizes all states and countries' hunting licenses and official hunter education credentials for the purpose of complying with mandatory hunter education requirements. So if you bought a license in another state, you can buy a license in Virginia.
But there's no age. You have to have it somewhere.
12 to 15. It says that you're required to complete hunter education before buying a license if you are 12 to 15 years of age or you've never purchased a license before. So if you're buying your first license when you're 35, you would need to have hunter safety.
Yep.
But you could come here and buy a hunter's license without proof of hunter's certification if you had like a license or something from another state.
Right.
So
I guess it's, depending on what other states are, but I know, I'm thinking most of them are, 1957, 1940s, whatever it is. I think you have to be pretty old to be grandfathered in.
That's good to know, because I hadn't really thought about that. I just sort of figured that, I could buy one. So I'm going to bring my hunter safety card, just in case, I guess. Or I usually travel with my hunter safety or license and stuff all usually kind of goes with me everywhere. So I would have that likely with me anyway, but I don't want to run into any snags. So I'm going to have that squared away.
One thing I didn't take up there also was a soft gun case, which, we were in a boat. Yeah,
this is a good question.
Could have used it, but I don't know. And it's almost, those Pelicans are too tight to probably jam something like that in there. They're easily foldable up, but
yeah, those Pelican cases are huge. Those things are big and they're bulky and they're heavy. I don't like Pelican cases to start with. They're just difficult to navigate. They're high profile. They just scream, steal me, all that crap. But I couldn't imagine trying to drag one of those to the field. Like, I absolutely plan on bringing a gun case for my shotgun, unless we're planning. Actually, if we're just going to hunt fields, I could throw the Pelican case in the bed of the truck. That's different.
Right.
If I was going to hunt in a boat, I would definitely have a floating gun case. No question.
Yep. Same here. But we were in a canoe and kind of just strapped up and
just strung it over your shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah. See, that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I went to a backpack style blind bag is when I'm in the canoe, I just wear it on my back so that if we flip, my most valuable things are right there with me. I don't have to search for them, and it takes up less room on the floor. So if you got like more gear you want to put in, it just makes life easier. So that's the way I've done it. And for that reason, but my gun is always in a floating case jammed in there somewhere. So. Okay.
So what else do you have? Because I mentioned multi-tool going in. You mentioned ear protection. Just your regular everyday wear for going out and about and HP meetups or whatever we're going to do, or travel around.
I don't know what we're going to do, but I can tell you I'm not going to have a bunch of clothes that are not hunting related. It'll be like a couple of pairs of underwear and a couple of t-shirts or whatever, but I'll probably wear the same pair of pants, some shorts to sleep in or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not going to worry about, I'm not out there to dress up and impress anybody, obviously. So it'll be pretty lean on that aspect of the casual clothes. But, for me, I think the biggest thing is just going to be all the, the camera and the podcast equipment is going to be tough because it's tougher to fly with some of that stuff, like these headsets and things are kind of bulky. They're not like perfectly square, tougher to pack, certainly fragile enough to where you don't want them banging around. So that's going to be a challenge. And, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with our gear. So it'll be a challenge to keep it all together and organized. But I got a bunch of bags. I'm just have to figure out which one's going to work the best, I think.
I do have on here too, if you are going somewhere with waders, to have a repair kit. And I know like Gore-Tex has a really small repair kit, but that's something that could shut your hunt down pretty quick if you're hunting in water.
Yeah. Repair kit, shoe goo, something like that, or, I mean, I would go as far as if I was in a tough spot, I would have some extra cash with me, or at least something, the willingness to go buy another set.
Yep.
Rather than ruin my hunt. You know what I mean? I'd be ready to get after it with that. So hopefully not something I'm going to have to entertain for this particular hunt, but hey, I'd be ready to if I had to. So
yeah, Ben said he'll have waders if we need it, and not if we need it, but if there's a situation that calls for waders, he'll do all the dogging, and then some of the guys that are driving are taking waders as well. So no worries there. We should be in good shape. Mm-hmm. Need to figure out the boots. So that's a good question. We'll talk to Ben and see what, if we need boots, or I don't know how, with how cold it is and windy. I thought he said it was going to be like 18 degrees at night, and I think we're going to get that storm here tomorrow, all those winds and snow coming through. So I don't know if the ground's going to be frozen or if it's going to, heat back up or what's going on. So, that might be a game time decision on the boots.
Yeah. Yep. I'm kind of in the same boat. All right. So what else do we got that we have to consider for this trip? I mean, the one thing that I don't know how this works because I've never gone anywhere where I haven't driven for hunting, but what do we do with all the birds?
We'll clean them there. He has a cleaning spot, so we'll clean, and we'll probably be cooking a lot of them. And then, if we want to bring them back, we'll have to freeze them and ship them. Yeah.
I guess we'll just have to eat a ton.
We'll be eating a lot of lessers and ducks and whatnot. So
yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Cause I mean, normally, if you're driving or whatever, if we're going up to Maryland, we're packing coolers and that kind of stuff, but not really, it's not like I'm going to ship a cooler out there or whatever. So
what about trophy birds? What if you get a nice pintail out there or something?
It's a fair point. Probably what I would do is I would call up like Tim Schloss or somebody and say, "Hey, I'm gonna overnight a frozen duck to you on Sunday."
Yep.
That's about all you can do, right? I mean,
yep. And that was nice too, going up to Maine. I shipped a nighter to him, and we vacuum sealed it and everything and had it ready to go. So
yeah,
I talked to Tim and he's like, "I got it." And that guy knows how to pack a frozen duck. So it was, it was good that we had him on for an episode and knew how to do it. So
yeah,
Ryan did a good job on that.
Yeah, that's cool. So what other odds and ends and things am I overlooking that I need to make sure that I bring in my kit here?
I know I have the shooter gloves from Sitka. Just I'm not too worried about calling. Obviously easy enough to just take them off, but those are really nice gloves for windy, cold days, and if you're in a dry field. So gloves, maybe some leather gloves just for that I don't mind getting wet if it is snowing and we need to get some more stubble in or whatever we need to do, grabbing vegetation, stuff like that. I think that's about it. I don't know if what are your feelings on hand warmers or stuff like that on planes? I don't like anything that like heats up or can be combustible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
As far as traveling with it,
I don't have any reason to not check them in my bags. So
yeah,
if I bring some, I'll just check them. I'm not going to mess with bringing those on. The only things I'm going to carry on the plane are electronics that I worry about breaking.
Yep.
The rest of the crap can go under the plane. It's not going to bother me any. So obviously, though, the nightmare scenario is your bag doesn't show up. Then what the heck do you do? That'd be
right.
Or your gun. That would be terrible. So fingers crossed that we don't have to deal with that. But, I always get a little more nervous about that when I have to make a connecting flight and, without a good lengthy layover. I think mine's like an hour. Yeah. So that's, should be enough time, but, I'll be worried until I see that gun case and my bag come off the belt. But
that's a good thing with going with an outfitter too. He has at least one gun there. So
yeah, you could, but I mean, it's just, that's just like, you go somewhere, to have, the potential hunt of a lifetime, do something new. Like you want to be comfortable with the gear, you want it to be what you're used to. And that's just another element that you got to overcome if you're using someone else's gear. So I think everybody would agree that it'd be preferable not to do that or not have to do that. But it's not like I'm not going to hunt if it doesn't show up. You know what I mean?
Right.
One way or the other, it's going to go down. So just figure it out. But you got anything else that you think is, what's your opinion on gunslings? Are you a gunsling guy? Do you bring one regardless? No?
I'll have the gunsling on my gun in the case. It'll fit in there.
Oh, so you pack it in the case with the sling on it?
No, I take it off the actual gun because I have the guns cut out, the foam cut out exactly for the guns, so it won't fit in there. I lay them flat, and it'll still shut with those in it.
Oh yeah,
that's with two slings. So
yeah, I'll probably bring a sling. I don't know if I'll use it or not. I'm not a big gunsling guy because, like I said, normally I just have it in a floating case. But if I end up not taking a floating case, I might take a sling just in case I gotta, sling it up and walk across the field or something, whatever the case might be.
If we're walking in fields or even, if you drop a pile of birds and, he'll have a couple dogs out there, but if you're walking out and I don't know, I just like always having a gun with me, cripples, whatever it may be.
Yeah. All right, man. Any other words of wisdom on kit that you think I need to know or we need to share with the listeners as they may be planning their out-of-state hunts or even their next just trip to the local marsh?
Well, I know. So Pennsylvania, your ID next year is coming out with a new ID, whatever I forget what it's called.
Like the true ID.
But apparently,
thing?
Yeah, their true ID. So initially it was supposed to be like October of this year, but they pushed it back. I don't know if it's 19 or actually out to 2020 now, but I know they pushed it back and you don't need it yet, but you will need that to fly. So I know PA is one of the ones that was behind on a driver's license ID, whatever it's missing, but I think there's a couple other states that have it too. So make sure that you look into that before you go flying or expect to fly.
Yeah, don't want to get hung up on that. So I know we're in good shape here in VA with that. So
yeah, you're good there. Talk to the wife tonight a little bit about cold weather prep and stuff like that about our last episode. And she's very concerned now about me traveling in cold water because I told her about it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she wasn't as concerned before, but I told her kind of the time limit and stuff. And it's funny. She's like, so if I fall into cold water and I don't have a PFD, I should just swim really fast. I'm like, well, swimming actually zaps your energy faster. And she's like, so what do I do? Just kind of float there? I was like, yeah, if you can. I was like, and it was a very somber moment for a second, and the realization of what would actually happen if you do end up in cold water. And she's like, so what do you do? I said, you have a PFD on and some kind of locator and a good plan. And she's like, all right, well, that's good to know. And you better be really safe going in water. So, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, we got a lot of positive feedback about last week's episode. And I tell you, it made me feel good inside to see guys posting pictures to the Facebook group, walking out of the store with a pair of life jackets that they just purchased, or talking about ordering them online, and, just like guys saying how they hadn't really thought about it or hadn't worn them before. And, even if they're going out and buy, the foam guys, I mean, that's what I'm using right now. I got a couple of the foam ones, and it's like PFDs are like exercise. The best exercise for you is the one that you'll do every day. The best PFD for you is the one that you'll wear when you go out. So whether that's a $100 model or a $20 model, it doesn't matter. Something is better than nothing, and have one for your buddy. And, I'm really happy to see at least a little bit more awareness coming from last week's episode. And, we were talking before we started recording, there was even, more stories coming out now of tragic situations happening to duck hunters, even since our last episode.
Yeah. I think what I know of now is five people passing away. I think 3 have come out of Wisconsin. So, it's awful. There's nothing else you can say about it. Make sure you wear it. And like you said, the feedback, the emails, and, not even from people that have fallen in cold water, but a lot of people that said, my dad and I have, been in a canoe quite a bit, and I feel like we have, been living on borrowed time essentially, and we've been really lucky to not flip, because if we have, then, we wouldn't be here in the places we go. And, he said before their season starts probably same time as yours, I think, and said before they go, they're going to have life jackets in there and on them. So,
yeah,
really good feeling, like you said, to see people posting pictures. I just ordered this, or, like you said, there's some that are walking out of the store with life jackets in hand. So that's awesome. I feel good about that episode, and, the awareness, and just the, get that to the front of your head instead of the back. It'll never happen to me type attitude.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing too, man. It's like, not just as duck hunters, just life in general is so fragile, and it just can be taken away so quickly. And, as duck hunters, we put ourselves in potentially dangerous situations doing something that we love and we're passionate about. And just think about how excited we get to do it, right? I mean, we're everybody so excited, sleepless night to get out early and put ourselves into that scenario. And don't let something that we love so much become a tragic ending to a story that, doesn't have to end that way. So take the precautions that you need, and, live to hunt another day. And,
and I listened to that episode again, and, we kind of started out, and you talked a little bit, and Brian talked, and then I asked him a question, kind of stats, like how far you can swim. And you cut me off right at the beginning and said, talk about the, initial reaction of your body. And that was like the perfect thing to start out with. So I'm glad that you did that, and just painting that picture, because how many times are you in the water, and I know that you do it going out to your blinds, and I do it here sometimes, getting in a canoe, and, you're on land and you feel a little bit of wind, but then you get in the water, and that water might be a little bit choppy. And then you're thinking, man, the further I go out, how big is this chop going to get? And, bigger boats might not think about it, but if you're in a kayak or canoe, like, you really feel it, and you feel that water spraying on you a little bit, and you know how cold it is. So, that initial reaction to falling in the water, and, you painted that real well. And Brian, the way that he talked about, the initial shock that you go through, that was a really, really great way to start that. And it hit home for me again to re-listen to that episode.
Yeah, definitely a powerful message. And it was one that I was happy to be able to provide. And, I think Brian did an awesome job helping us deliver that, and all the information that he's been able to further distribute into the listeners group. That's one of the biggest benefits of our listeners group. If anyone that's, hearing us now, not in there, even if you're not a big Facebook user, our group is such a great resource of people from around the waterfowl community that brings such a variety of experience and expertise, and so many people willing to help and contribute positive information in there. It's such a breath of fresh air in a internet where, everyone just can't wait to cut somebody down. And, that really doesn't happen as much in our group. And we really try to make sure that it never happens. But, it's such a good resource for someone who, cause let's just face it. I mean, it takes a long time to learn the nuance of duck hunting, and there's just so many things to consider. And safety, oddly enough to say, is probably one of the last things that you really kind of, come to. I mean, most people, when they're gearing up for their first couple hunts, their first year, they're thinking, how many decoys do I throw out? Do I throw the mallards with the pintails, or do I throw them by themselves? Where do I set the geese? How do I brush this? How would you set up in this config? They're asking all of these really, really good questions, right? And things that are, worth discussing. But how often do people say, and what kind of PFD do I need? Or like, what are my boat safety requirements, whatever. You just don't see questions like that come up very often, particularly from new hunters. So it's refreshing to have that type of discussion, so that people that are new to the sport, that are in the group, they're getting that flow of information as well. So definitely encourage guys to go over there and check it out. The group's been growing like crazy, and it's very, very active. Lots of good conversations going in there. So definitely stop by and check it out. You gotta request permission because it's a closed group. We do try to vet it a little bit so that there's just not a bunch of trolls and, spam and bot and all that crap in there. So we try to keep it as clean as we possibly can. So definitely check it out if you've not been over there yet, and, see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah. I do want to mention the one, I don't know if Brian shared it on his personal page and then I put it in a group, or one way or another, but, it was from a family's perspective that they had just left. They were going shopping or something, and drove past the lake, and they looked down. They heard some shooting earlier in the morning, like a half an hour before they left. They go out and they drive by this lake, and the dad says, "Oh, that doesn't look right." It looked like a yard sale in the water. And then they realized that they could see one guy floating there.
No.
And they went down over the bank, and the guy was still pretty far out, and I don't know if the wind, like the wind was pushing him or what, but then, and I'm not exactly sure if the dad went out or if they threw something, but essentially this guy is just screaming like, "Help me, I can't stay up." I just watched my friend die, and apparently he'd been in the water for, I think it was like 25 minutes or so. They got him out. Eventually they got the guy out, and he, said he was literally seconds away from just giving up, and got him into the truck. The car was already warm. Got the wet clothes off of him and put a blanket around him. And I guess the mom of the family was holding him and like trying to rub him and, warm him up. And, he just kept repeating, I just watched my best friend die. They shot at a duck, and, the canoe just straight flipped on them, and they were in the water, had no way to communicate. And, I think it was a 17-year-old girl that was kind of narrating the story, and just can't imagine it. Can't imagine being the guy in the water. Can't imagine being the family coming up on that. So, they called 911 right away. And by the time they got there, the guy was still just saying that he was hot, and then he was cold and sweating and, cold again. And they ended up putting him on a stretcher and taking him to the hospital. He ended up being fine, but, just sit there, and the guy that you launched a boat with that morning, you watched him sink to the bottom of the lake. And I think it was a couple hours later that they pulled his friend out of the water. So, just a grave reminder of how quick it can happen.
Yeah. And that guy's really, really lucky to be alive. And, I will just say this, listening to that story, I know we've done an episode on hunting from small watercraft and canoes specifically. It's generally a bad idea to shoot from a canoe, period. What we've talked about in our episodes when hunting from a canoe would apply to very, very shallow water near the shore where you can drive posts into the ground, like C-clamp your boat to those posts and where you're in a solid platform before shooting. I do not want to give anybody the perception that shooting from a canoe in any form or fashion is a good idea, because most of the time it is just not. So that is and
shooting from a moving vessel is illegal. So
correct.
Not saying that they were, jump shooting birds, paddling up to them or whatever, but you need to be stopped. But
it's a vessel moving under motor power, right? You can paddle or no?
Probably. Well, I'm not exactly sure on that.
Yeah, I don't really hunt like that, so I'm not really sure. But I don't know how that would work if you were float hunting like a little creek or a river and jump shooting. I don't know how. Yeah,
I think that's legal, but still not the safest. Especially, if you're shooting straight ahead, that's okay. You turn, the bird flies and turns to the side, and then you're shooting the side and get knocked over pretty easy.
Exactly right. Yeah, if you're shooting to the side, and if for some reason both guys shoot to the side, you're really rolling the dice there. So definitely would not recommend that.
Looking back, there's been one time that I shot out of my canoe, and I killed a widgeon that way, and Kimber was with me, and she saw it fall and jumped out of the canoe, and we were definitely in deeper water. And that was the last time I ever did that.
Yeah, I've heard many stories of people going in the water or almost going in the water because of their dog. So definitely consider that, depending on what you're hunting from and all that good stuff. Because
that's another thing too, man. I see a lot of people with kayaks, and they open up the back end of it to where they take the dry nozzle off or dry top part of it or whatever. Oh, I'm going to put my dog back there. Phew. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Think about it.
Yep.
You do that in a pool in the summertime and see how stable it is.
Yeah.
Before you go out in cold water.
Makes me nervous. But
yeah.
Okay. I think we've belabored that enough. Again, if you haven't checked out last week's episode, definitely do yourself a favor. Check that out. Get yourself educated on boat safety and cold water exposure and things like that. And, do the right thing. Be safe. Anything else you want to add to this week's episode, Daniel, before we wrap it up, whether it be about prepping for this upcoming Kansas hunt or just anything in general?
I think I'm pretty good, man. I'm going to try and figure out, I'm going to look at the weather for tomorrow and see if I'm going to kind of ground hunt some whitetail for one of the last days of archery, or if I'm going to sneak out to the lake or something like that and try and find some birds. I don't know. There haven't been a ton of birds around. And some people, this week, except these last couple of days, has been warm. So every time I see birds and they're right around boats with guys fishing still. So, we're early part of November and guys are still out on the lake, and I don't know how everyone else feels about it. I know that sometimes hunters and fishermen have run-ins. I try and wait till it's too cold to fish and before I hit some of those smaller lakes around here. So that's just, I don't want to get into that and be shooting at people or just have a hunt ruined by people coming and fishing, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'd just rather go to somewhere else where they aren't. But going to check out the weather and kind of see what's going on and make a decision here. It's already 11:22 p.m., so it'll be a short sleep either way.
Yep. Well, good luck with whatever you decide. My wife is having a baby sprinkle tomorrow, so me and my boy will be up, and we're going to go pick up a new pair of basketball shoes, watch a little football before basketball practice. And then I think I'm going to probably try to head out to the Maryland Waterfowl Festival there on Sunday over in Easton, Maryland. And maybe get an opportunity to catch up with some of our listeners that I know are going to be out there and see what's going on. So it's going to be busy. I got to be back for another basketball coaching meeting that evening. So it'll be a long day for me, but you don't get an opportunity to do these things very often. So I might as well just suck it up and take advantage of it. So
I'm going to a monster truck
Sunday,
call it. Well, you get me laughing. I tried not to laugh all episode because I start coughing, but no, Saturday night. So the girls
cut the Newports, bro. Get off the car.
Oh man, it's been awful. But no, so the girls had their birthday. It was Wednesday, and we had a family party Sunday, and then another little get together on their birthday, and then they had a birthday party at their pre-K today. So I was feeling pretty bad for Dawson, just feeling left out, and I think he gets a little frustrated when he doesn't get as much attention. So bought a couple tickets, and we're going to see some monster trucks go crush little cars and do all their freestyle stuff up in Erie Saturday night. So a little time with the little man, and hopefully he enjoys it. I've never been to one, so we'll have the hearing protection on and go see what that's all about. Get some nachos and hang back and watch things get run over.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to love that. That'll be a good time.
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. We'll enjoy all that. And before we get out of here, just want to take a minute to thank Lucky Duck, Native Eyewear, The Ridge, 737, Gunner Kennels, Onyx Hunt, Big Al Silhouette Decoys, Camp Chef, and Black Rifle Coffee Company. Definitely check out our discounts page at hpoutdoors.com. Find out how you can save money on a bunch of stuff from our great sponsors, and make sure to support them in any way that you can. All right, Dan, last chance for one last thing before we go.
I'm good, man. Have fun at the Waterfowl Festival if you make it up there.
All right, man. All right, that does it. Episode 108 is in the books. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing us discuss how we're preparing for our next hunt out in Kansas, and maybe it'll help you prepare for your next out-of-town trip or even your next trip to the back 40. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out all the past episodes, get caught up, leave us 5-star ratings and reviews, as we appreciate that, and it helps bring new hunters to the program just like you. I know some of you guys have been hunting for a while, but I'm chomping at the bit. I'm ready to get back, only a couple weeks now. But until next week, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.